required to report suspected abuse to CPS. We all knew Ellie had problems at home with those bruises, but seeing it become this official thing made me feel guilty for not noticing sooner when Mom would have noticed right away. Later that night, I had to sit at the kitchen table with all the hospice paperwork and sign a bunch of forms with the official time of death printed in black ink staring back at me. The hospice counselor was really nice and confirmed they had records of both calls they made to the school, which proved we weren't lying, but it didn't make anything better. The next morning, I had to go back to the school, and Miss Vexler's classroom had a substitute teacher sitting at her desk looking super uncomfortable while everyone whispered about what happened. Walking down the halls was awful because I couldn't tell if people were staring at me because they felt bad or because they just wanted to see the kid from the viral story. I kept my head down and tried to just get through each class without breaking down again. Amy Gordon pulled our whole group into her office during third period for what she called a grief check-in, and Anthony actually talked in full sentences for the first time I could remember. He told us how Mom was the only adult who ever made him feel like he mattered, and how she remembered things about him that even his foster parents forgot. We were all crying by the end, especially when Maya talked about how Mom helped her with her stutter every day after school for free. During fourth period, the principal held this big assembly where he talked about yesterday's incident and proper emergency procedures, but he never mentioned Mom dying or Miss Vexler locking us in. The way he made it sound all clean and official like it was just some drill that went wrong made me so mad I had to leave the auditorium before I did something stupid. At lunch, I went to the library and used their computer to file a formal complaint through the district's online portal with Isabella, helping me write everything down with all the exact times and details. Ashley came over and added her part about the fake confession she made to distract Miss Vexler and took full responsibility for lying about cheating, even though she was just trying to help me. The librarian kept looking over at us because we were all crowded around one computer, but she didn't say anything when she saw we were crying. That afternoon, more kids started coming forward with their own stories about Miss Vexler and how she'd done cruel things to them over the years, but nobody had ever reported it before. One girl said Miss Vexler made her take a test the day after her dog died and told her animals don't have souls, so she shouldn't be upset. Another kid said she wouldn't let him call his dad when he was having an asthma attack because she thought he was faking. The stories kept coming, and Isabella was documenting everything in this big Google Doc she shared with Amy Gordon and the district investigator. My dad finally got home from his business trip that night, and when he saw all the missed calls and messages, he just broke down completely. He kept saying he should have been there, and how Mom would never forgive him for missing her last moments, but I told him it wasn't his fault because nobody expected it to happen so fast. We sat at the kitchen table going through all the emails and documents, and he got really quiet when he read the part about Miss Vexler saying Mom got her written up last month. He told me that Mom had reported Miss Vexler for making a special needs kid stand in the corner for an hour as punishment, and the principal had dismissed it as a misunderstanding. Now that made sense why Miss Vexler had been so cruel about everything, because she wanted revenge on our family. After school the next day, I was walking to my car when this woman with a press badge came up to me in the parking lot. She said her name was Zelda Vasquez, and she'd been looking into teachers who abused their power for months now. She showed me a folder full of articles she'd written about other cases and asked if I'd be willing to share my story. I told her I needed to think about it because everything was still too raw, and I didn't know if I was ready to go public yet. She gave me her card and said she'd wait for my call whenever I was ready. Walking back into school, I saw Ashley coming out of the principal's office, and she looked like she'd been crying. She told me they were threatening to put academic dishonesty on her permanent record, even though she admitted right away that her confession was fake. The principal said it didn't matter that she was trying to help me because she still disrupted a state exam and made false claims about hacking school computers.